Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest updates from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have announced their withdrawal from the city of Walikale, a strategic mineral hub that they captured last week. Over the weekend, the rebels stated that they are repositioning their forces outside the outskirts of Walikale, a move they claim is intended to create the right conditions for peace and political dialogue. The M23 rebels seized control of Walikale after the presidents of Rwanda and the DRC met in Qatar and agreed to a ceasefire. However, the rebels dismissed the Qatar talks as none of their business. Despite this, they have now announced their withdrawal, in line with the ceasefire declared in February. But locals report that the M23 fighters still remain in the city. Now, Walikale sits at a strategic junction connecting roads leading to Goma and Bukavu, the two main cities in the eastern DRC that have also fallen under the M23 control. This marks M23's farthest westward advance into the DRC since its emergence in 2012. Though Walikale remains far from the capital of Kinshasa, Uganda's army chief now claims that the rebels may enter Kisangani in the coming days, a major city in central DRC. He says that his troops will also intervene to rescue its people. Now, Kisangani is a major commercial hub and a key transit point. While the M23 has seized vast territories in eastern DRC, they have not expressed intentions to advance toward Kisangani. This makes Ugandan Army Chief Muhoozi Kainerugaba's comments particularly significant. If true, it would mark a major escalation, taking the conflict deeper into Congolese territory. However, the Ugandan Army Chief Kainerugaba, who is also the son of the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, is known for his controversial and often unfiltered statements on social media, some of which have sparked diplomatic tensions. He previously also threatened to invade Kenya. Now, in the DRC, Uganda plays a complex role in the decades-long conflict. Its troops are operating in parts of eastern Congo at the request of the Congolese government. Now, this to fight militias other than the M23. However, a United Nations report has brought Uganda's actions under scrutiny, alleging that both Uganda and Rwanda are backing the M23 to exploit the DRC's vast mineral resources. Uganda also maintains close ties with Rwanda. Just last week, the Army Chief Kainerugaba met with the Rwandan President Paul Kagame, fueling speculation about Uganda's involvement in the rebel movement. With multiple African nations involved in this complex conflict, the situation remains fluid, raising the question, what comes next for the Democratic Republic of Congo? Now, to discuss more on this, we have with us Beverly Ochieng, a senior analyst at Control Risks, who is joining us live from Dakar in Senegal. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me as well.
Now, how significant is the M23's decision to withdraw from the Walikale area in terms of the broader peace efforts in the eastern DRC? And can this be seen as a genuine step toward de-escalation?
I mean, in terms of symbolism, it's significant, but it's the first time that the M23 is taking such a step, especially after making its intent known that it doesn't just want to seize the capitals of, Sud Kivu and North Kivu, but also march on Kinshasa, which appeared to be a veiled threat against President Tshisekedi. Yeah. But M23 has an upper hand at this point, and it's essentially in control of large parts of the east. It is bound to continue making inroads, especially in the event that it is not included in subsequent peace talks, or if there are further actions that then aggravate its political stance. The collapse of peace talks in Angola because of the sanctions against its alleged backer, Rwanda, is making M23 a bit more conscious about what is at play. But you have to recall, it's not just M23 that is the source of conflict in the East. There are hundreds of other rebel groups that are active. They are capitalizing on the current political fallout. So even though M23 is the most powerful at the moment, it'll take quite a lot to pacify the East beyond just peace talks with this rebel group, but also engaging other armed groups that are in the region.
And Beverly, Uganda's army chief suggested that either Ugandan forces or the M23 fighters could enter Kisangani to rescue people. What are the implications of this statement for Congolese sovereignty and for the regional security dynamics?
I mean, Uganda has always had a bit of a flexible role within DR Congo over the years. Of course, under Tshisekedi's government, they were invited to support fighting against the Allied Democratic Forces, which is another armed group. They were also part of the East African contingent, which was forced to withdraw. Uganda itself continued to pledge support, but then its relationship with Rwanda has always put that into question. And it's interesting because our projection was that M23 was going to move into Kisangani. If Uganda does go into Kisangani and there are allegations of coordination between them, it could suggest that there's a bigger play, not just for Rwanda or DR Congo, but also for other countries in the neighboring region to be involved in the conflict. And pulling them in is bound to lead to much more diplomatic tensions in the region.
Right. And given the complex alliances and the accusations, such as Rwanda's alleged backing of the M23, how likely is it that this conflict could spiral into a broader regional confrontation? And more importantly, what role can international mediators play to prevent that?
Well, the countries themselves that are involved are trying to keep it from being a regional conflagration. So the Southern African Development Community is in talks and is currently drawing down its troops. The East African contingent was forced to leave because they were seen as being ineffective. But of course, M23 itself has been trying to avoid areas where it gets into confrontation with either Uganda or Burundi, and is being more strategic about areas that it wants to occupy. But of course, we are seeing that with Rwanda being pulled in, with Uganda being pulled in, with Burundi also having to question its own territorial integrity, that is bound to be a concern. In terms of mediation, the Qatar effort is still very early, but there's been a ceasefire. And of course, there are talks today between the East African Community and the Southern African Development Bloc on what the way forward will be.
Yes. Right. Beverly, thank you very much for being with us on First Post Africa.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
No, I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%. Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.